In our third video in the series of what does a hatred of women look like, today I want to discuss a hatred specifically of lesbians. You'll be hard-pressed to find any legislation against female homosexuality for the purpose of, quite simply, women weren't able to leave the house. There wasn't a space for women to interact with other women in private, unlike men who could live their entire lives as a bachelor, who could socialize, who did have financial freedom to do what they wanted. But today, you're able to see those attitudes of homophobia and misogyny are still there. They haven't gone anywhere, although they have been relabeled as progressive. And today I want to discuss why exactly it's not progressive, and why things have exactly stayed the same.
It's interesting to me that people can't seem to grasp the fact that I'm a lesbian, nor can they let go of their incessant need to tell me that I'm not a lesbian.
The definition of a lesbian is a female homosexual. A female is to be of the sex that produces ova, and a woman is to be a female human. You don't qualify as a woman, and therefore you don't qualify as a lesbian. It's quite simple.
But let me just remind you that sexuality, by definition, refers to the gender identity of the people that you're attracted to.
I love how he's ignoring that sexuality has the word sex in it, which, yes, can refer to the action of having sex, but also to the sex of the person you are attracted to. People are not attracted to gender identity. I'm not attracted to femininity. I'm not attracted to the words she, her. I'm attracted to women. And the relabeling of sexuality as being based on gender identity creates this pressure to validate people who identify in a certain way. Because the truth is, it doesn't matter what you identify as. I identify as a millionaire. It doesn't make my bank account any less negative. And somehow the pressure is mostly going on lesbians. I'm seeing more of a push towards gay men also having this issue as of late. And of course, it's not successful towards straight men or towards straight people, because minorities are far more at risk of pressure due to being more insular, due to being overcrowded with straight people cosplaying. But I'm just really tired of having the same conversation. You're a man. You are heterosexual if you're a man attracted to females. It's really that simple.
Gender identity, not body parts. Sexuality is not about body parts.
Some of these people are like actively malicious. They are aware that you have sex with your genitals and that sex is immutable, and they just want access to this privileged group of women who they have a fetish for. But there are some people on social media, specifically on Twitter and Tumblr, who I think are literally just virgins who have never had sex before, and so don't understand that regardless of your ideology, you have sex with your vagina or your penis. You have sex with your body. You don't have sex mentally. I'm not doing a mind meld with another woman. You have sex using your body, which you cannot separate from. Your body and soul are not two separate things, or at least, like, if we're just talking from a logical stance. I don't care about your religion in this point. When you're having intercourse, it is with your body and another person's body. And so your ideology of whether or not you feel female inside or outside or whatever doesn't matter. Either you're female or you're male, and you can either be opposite sex attracted, same sex attracted, or attracted to both people. It's that simple.
I'm going to simplify this as much as I can. Some lesbians have buzz cuts. Some lesbians have beards.
Women can grow facial hair. People with PCOS or endometriosis often have higher testosterone, and so those women may have facial hair. And a lot of women just grow a couple strands here, there, anywhere. I mean, I do. My mom does. I don't know a single woman who hasn't had like a little spiky piece on their chin or something. And of course, there are G-trans women who have taken testosterone and who now grow facial hair. But for the most part, having facial hair, a lot of it is a male sex trait.
Some lesbians use he, him pronouns. Some lesbians bind. Some lesbians get top surgery. Some lesbians take HRT.
All you've described is that some lesbians have internalized misogyny or internalized homophobia, just like pretty much every woman. But the category of lesbians means that you have to be a female solely attracted to females. Like, it doesn't matter about all these personality or personal traits.
Some lesbians have bulges, some lesbians tuck.
No, some men have lesbian fetishes and dress in feminine clothing or use she, her pronouns and make other people use them and submit to them. But those are not lesbians. Those are straight men.
Some lesbians do drag, some lesbians don't have a genital preference.
Those who are attracted to people of both sexes are called bisexuals. I know it's an amazing concept. So strange, so different. I'm surprised no one's ever coined this before.
As long as they say so, they're still a lesbian. And if you think that you have the authority to tell them that they're not, how are you any different from the cis men who say that they just need to sleep with the right man to not be a lesbian anymore?
The definition of a word is exclusionary by nature because it has to create a closed definition to define anything. So it's not like it's not like it's a club, which for some reason these people seem to think that it's like some kind of personal club that they can gain entry to, like it's some sort of thing that you can just dress like and talk like and find your way fitting in, and it's not. If you are not a female homosexual, you're not a lesbian. And I hate that you're just like the men who say that if you sleep with them. No, that's you. You're the one saying that you need to get over your genital preference, that you need to be, that if you don't want to sleep with men who decide to wear dresses and call themselves she, her, you're the exclusionary one. You are a man lecturing to women. You are the problem here.
How does my trans identity align with me being a lesbian?
Gender identity is a made-up concept. It's made up. It's made up. It's a made-up concept. And it's given you the audacity to believe that you can lecture to women who are only attracted to women and tell them that they must be attracted to you or else they are exclusionary and they aren't validating your identity, even though I don't need someone to validate my identity as a lesbian. It doesn't matter if someone calls me bisexual, if they say that I'm straight. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because those are words that just don't apply to me. I don't have to prove it. I don't have to be validated by someone else. I am a lesbian because I am only attracted to other women. And it does not matter if the world decides to call me something different because that label is one that accurately applies to my behavior, that accurately applies to my identity. It's not something that I have to choose. Some parts of your identity you can choose. You can choose to be goth. You can choose to be annoying as all hell. But some things you can't choose. I can't choose to identify as being upper class when I'm poor as all hell. That's just not how the world works.
Now, being a lesbian is much like being trans at the core of my identity. It is a big part of who I am and how I identify and intertwines so much with my beliefs, morals, and like how I live my life. And being a lesbian has so many positives for me.
Being a lesbian has so many positives for me, says a heterosexual white man. I'm so glad for you that you feel that you've had a positive experience, that you didn't grow up in a society which makes it seem as if having a sole attraction to other females is an impossibility, that you didn't grow up with your father telling you that you were going to go to hell because you didn't want to be bred like cattle. I'm so happy for you that this is a positive experience because for, actual lesbians, it typically isn't.
There's also a lot of negatives that come with being a trans person who identifies as a lesbian. There are a lot of TERFs in the community.
And in this case, you're basically using TERF to refer to actual lesbians. TERF, women who won't sleep with you. TERF, women who disagree with you. TERF, lesbians who refuse to fall into your little sick fantasy and pretend that they can be attracted to you.
You might find that if you go to a lesbian bar, maybe some of the older lesbians are staring at you, or, there's a lot of TERFs around, but generally, lesbian love is supposed to be very, very inclusive.
Sexuality is exclusive by nature. Being a lesbian is inclusive of all females, as in there are plenty of women who are not what would be considered stereotypically attractive, who are considered attractive in the lesbian community, but you are not part of that community because you are a straight man.
And pretty much the only rule about lesbian love is that it does not include cis men.
And here's why I call this hatred. It is not an outright stating of I hate lesbians. It's more insidious than that. It's pretending to be allyship. It's under this flag of progressiveness, of progress. But what's really going on here is that the boundaries of women who by definition do not need to have men in their lives. They're somehow finding a way to center it around men again. They're finding a way to force women who do not want men included in their private sexual lives. They're finding a way to force it anyway. And to me, I find that to be an invasion of boundaries, an invasion of privacy, an invasion of a community that I never really got to explore because by the time I came of age, it had been taken over by men like this.
Is it transphobic to not want to date trans people? The answer is yes. And here's why. So let's say that you're on a dating app and you match with a woman and doesn't say that she's trans, okay?
Then he is lying about his identity and hoping that when you meet him in person, that you will be too threatened to stand up and say, no, actually, I'm not attracted to you, have a nice day. And this is one of the reasons why I really can't take some of these complaints about there's so much violence in the trans community seriously, because you are committing rape by deception when you are withholding information that you know would change someone's decision to sleep with you. And so in the cases where there are violence against trans people, and it tends to be a man who has not been told that their partner is actually male, and that is rape by deception. And of course, murder is not a proportionate response to that, but you could prevent that outcome by being honest on your profile, and then you would only match with people who are okay with dating a man who presents himself as female, who wants to be a woman. But of course not. That's not part of it. They want to be validated. They want the secret joy of having the validation of a same-sex attracted person actually go through with having heterosexual sex with them.
You start chatting and you hit it off. You vibe. And then you maybe go out for dinner or lunch, and the vibe is definitely there. Maybe you go on a second date, right? And maybe you even kiss them at a certain point, right? First kiss type situation. And you hang out and it's all good. Now, date 3 or 4, they mention that they are trans, right? The attraction that you had to this person is all the same.
No, my attraction would immediately disappear because I would realize that you are male. And to be honest, I find it really hard to believe that you would get to a 3rd, 4th date after kissing someone and then find out that they're not of that sex. Men tend to overlook it. I think that they just aren't as observant as women are. But I have been tricked into dates with trans women before where they would have such heavy filters and heavy makeup that I just didn't notice, or I was just swiping and I saw female and didn't bother looking at the picture too hard. And you know what? I sat through an awkward date because I didn't want to deal with having a public explosion of anger or violence or have someone track me home, and then never talk to them again, because even if we could have been potentially friends, I sure as hell wouldn't want to deal with you now after knowing that you've lied to me for that long.
The vibe is still the same. So why is it that at that point the attraction would go away, right? That's the question.
Because people have sexualities that do not include you. Some people are only attracted to one sex and you are not of that sex, and so therefore they are not attracted to you, regardless of how much you may identify as being of that gender or how much you may want them to like you. Like, you realize that sex involves genitals, so a person's sex is of importance to who you're attracted to. It's really that simple.
And the answer is transphobia, right? Now, is there an argument to be made that, like, the parts down there are something you don't like? I think that for 99% of the examples here, that's not the case, and that it really does stem from transphobia.
This is so stupid because, for one, most trans women are not getting surgeries down there. So first off, genitals play a role in sex. If you're not getting surgeries, then you don't even have the excuse of having a neo-vagina to force people to be attracted to you. If you're just not attracted to men and you have biological male parts, why would you be attracted to you? Because you're still male. And this is so self-centered to me. Oh, it's transphobia. No, it's that you're not of the sex that the person is attracted to. Your identification as being trans doesn't really mean anything. I mean, lesbians have the ability to be attracted to trans men because guess what? They're females. They are women who identify as male, who may look masculine, who may have undergone mastectomies, but they're still female.
So yeah, if you are someone who is not open to dating trans men or women, I would say that there is a 99% chance that yes, that means you are transphobic. More bread. There's no deceiving. It's not deceitful. It's not deceitful. Just like you don't lead saying that you're cis. Hi, by the way, just want you to know that I'm cisgendered. Just want you to know. You don't.
It would be wrong of me to try to date someone who is a trans-identified female and to not disclose that I'm a radical feminist who does not believe in the validity of a trans identity, because I know that that information would impact whether or not that person would want to date me. And quite simply, I don't understand how you could understand that. You would expect your partner to disclose if they are a TERF. But you don't understand how it's deceitful to hide that you are biologically male to someone who's not attracted to biological males. And what exactly do you think is going to happen if you wait 5 dates in to tell somebody, oh, I'm actually male? you think they're going to just swallow it because you're such a nice person. They're just going to deal with the fact that they are now trapped in a very awkward date with someone who they are physically and emotionally incompatible with. What is the goal here?
You refuse to date transgender folks. Is that transphobic? Now, I'm talking about people who say they accept trans people as their gender, who date people of that gender, but won't date them.
The problem here is that people are lying to you. You know they're lying. They know that they're lying. But for the most part, it doesn't impact them because most people who are falling for this lie, who are withholding it, they are straight. So they never actually have to prove their dedication by sleeping with you because you want to sleep with the homosexuals. And so you, who have now basically taken over the LGBT community, you now have the social capital, especially when there's just such a social contagion aspect to this, to where now it's just the homosexuals who are being forced to show their support through having relationships and having sex with you. And if they don't do that, if they don't go ahead and say, yeah, I really believe that you're a woman and I'll prove it with my vagina, then you end up creating this pressure where if they don't do it, they're the bigots. These women, they're the ones who are bigots. They're the ones who are forcing you to commit suicide. It's their fault because the women are just so mean and so oppressive.
Like, if you won't date someone from Mars because they're space aliens and you're afraid they're going to lay eggs in your torso, that's one thing.
Your analogy is stupid. And honestly, if you're making it a real analogy, it's if you are a lesbian who won't have sex with a male who can get you pregnant, who you are incapable of being sexually attracted to, that is bigotry. But, if you weren't able to be attracted to a fictional, ideology, to a fictional alien, that's different. That's excusable. This is such a stupid analogy. It has nothing to do with this. Lesbians are female homosexuals and you're a man. It's that simple.
But if you say that someone born on Mars is a human, but refuse to date that person, well, that's something else. Now, preference is wanting Evian bottled water over Dasani. But if you were thirsty, you would drink either one. Please, for the love of God, don't tell me you would refuse either one of those two over the other, because
sex is not a requirement for staying alive, and so you can choose to be picky. In fact, you have a right to be picky. You are allowed to be exclusionary because it is your body and therefore your decision. So it doesn't matter how much I might want to be in a relationship, I will maintain my standards and my sexuality because it's not a preference. It's not a preference, it's a requirement. In order to be attracted to you, you have to be female. It is that simple. And it's not a difference between, sexuality-wise. Some people only want to date blondes, or they're only interested in people who have dark eyes and dark hair. It's not as if it's an inherently wrong thing to not want to date someone. You don't have to prove your devotion to human rights through your sexuality, which is what they always seem to want you to do.
I once heard that a lot of lesbians, particularly cis lesbians, initiate flirting with other women is kind of through eye contact. Like, you could just tell in the eyes, oh, they're into you. As autistic trans women, that doesn't work. Because for one, I need people to be very direct with me because I don't like to make assumptions about their intentions.
No lesbian will ever have intentions with you.
But the other is that, by default, most trans women have their walls up and are ready to brawl because if a woman's staring at us, there's just this innate fear that they've clocked us and they're gonna say some turf bullshit and we gotta start throwing hands.
Interesting that your reaction to women's discomfort and boundaries is violence, when the ones who commit the majority, all of them, not the majority, all of the murders against trans women are men. Interesting that you're not fighting back against the demographic that actually hurts you or that has the power to fight back.
So I'm sorry to any cis lesbians who want to try and initiate a conversation with me and are trying to make eye contact because the whole time I'm just ready to go, motherfucker.
Don't worry, anyone staring at you is not doing it because they're interested in you sexually or romantically or even platonically. You don't have to worry about this problem at all. Anyhow, this, dear viewers, is where we part. I've tread on this topic many, many times before, but there's always a plethora of examples to go over, and to be honest, I've gotten back from traveling, and I'm not interested in dating right now. I'm not interested. And part of it is just I don't have the energy to put into dealing with a community that is like this. I don't have the effort to go to a gay bar where I'm going to see majority male or straight women who are there because they think it's safer than being in a regular bar or club or whatever. I don't want to deal with trying to root out what people believe in. I don't want to do it. It's such a hassle to meet people who are not insane and just, I'd rather just not bother. Anyhow, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.